Hey everyone, it's Sarah from Apricot Polka Dot, and today we have already talked about how to make the perfect pom-pom in my video, How to Make the Perfect Pom-Pom. So now that you have all these pom-poms, how can you string them together into a garland? Well, that is what we're going to work on today. We're going to talk about how to get all of these perfect pom-poms onto a string or twine or something so that you can hang them up in your house. So the first thing you need is a yarn darning needle. So now if you see, this is a really thick needle and it has a big eye because you're going to need a big eye so that you can string your different either yarn or twine or string or whatever it is through that eye to get through these pom-poms. So you want to have a good yarn darning needle. I will make sure to link to my favorites from Amazon and in the comments below. So make sure you look at that. So if you're going to use a yarn, you just want to thread through your needle. And it's not that hard when you have a nice big eye so that you can feed it through. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind when you are going to stitch through your pom-poms, you want to make sure that you are finding your center string. So now if you look really carefully in here, you can see where I tied up this pom-pom and you can find that string in the center. It's right here. You want to go through that center string because that will give you the most strength for your garland. If you go through the other side, you are just going straight through the middle of your pom-pom with all of your yarn that's already in there, and it can just pull out more strings. You kind of want to go against the grain, if that makes sense. So you're just going to try to find the center, and you're going to start lining that up, and then you're going to just go all the way through this pom-pom. Now, one thing you want to be careful of is that this can pull out some of your strands of yarn in your pom-pom. So you want to be careful. You want to do this sort of delicately, and as you can see, it's coming up through the other side here. But you want to sort of get your hand wrapped around the pom-pom, not firmly because you don't want to crush your pom-pom, but enough so that you can wiggle your needle, because if you don't, it can just pull out all of the threads, and that is how we string on one. Now again, if you're looking at like the center, let's see, we're going to find our center string. There's our center string. So you want to go through our center. It doesn't even have to go necessarily through that piece of yarn, but it just gives it more strength by choosing to go through that direction rather than the other. And then you wait for it to come up. And the hard part is just getting your string through the pom-pom, because that is where it can grip onto these little strands of yarn and pull some of them through. If that happens, it's okay. You just may need to trim your pom-pom again to make sure that it's all even. So, and then you kind of just need to wiggle it through so that it doesn't pull too many. And there we have it. And the nice thing about this is that these pom-poms are now adjustable on this string. So you can move them around, and that is kind of nice. You can always touch up your pom-poms again if like they get a little bit pulled out of place when you're stringing your needle through. You can always just kind of trim up your pom-pom after the fact. Now I want to talk about, I love baker's twine. That's a really easy way to string these. The yarn doesn't really get as caught on the baker's twine as it might on like a more thick yarn or like a twine. This is actually one of the hardest things to string onto because it just wants to pull against your yarn, and it just wants to pull all of those cute little yarn fibers out of your pom-poms. So I'm just going to show you really quickly with one of these. So we have our needle strung. Now we'll find our center string. All right, it's right here in the middle. We're going to go through the center. Now these, again, you want to just kind of put your whole hand around it so that it's sort of holding all of that yarn in place, but you don't want to crush it because that'll crush your pom-pom and sort of make it look distorted, but you want to hold it firmly. Now this one, you just really need to wiggle until it comes through and be careful about it, and then refluff it once you get it through. And again, you might want to trim up some of these little little ones that sort of get pulled out when you pull that string through. But that's how you do that one. Just be careful with the twine because it does want to pull out the yarn. But it's as simple as that, and then you can add, if you want to add knots to the ends just so that the pom-poms can't slip off, you can. I usually don't, just because I keep them centered enough that they don't get close enough to the ends to slip off in the first place. But you can, it's certainly an option. Just make sure you have a good metal yarn darning needle. That's really the key. Really thick, chunky yarn is tricky, and just because you can't feed it through the eye of your needle. If that's the case, I usually will even just tie my pom-poms. I will leave the ends long and I will tie them onto a thick yarn, and then I may even just stitch through the whole thing and through that thick yarn just to make sure it is really secure. But if you're using just one of these thinner yarns, baker's twine, jute twine, those all will be great for stringing your garland, and I'll make sure that I leave some of my favorite resources in the links below. But I hope you enjoy. I hope you make lots of fun garlands. Make sure to check out my website at apricotpolkadot.com for lots more crafting goodness, and make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well.